China was engulfed in the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1937. Protecting Shanghai, an international settlement, is the task assigned to a group of soldiers. However, before they can enter the city, they must first traverse the countryside. When they eventually arrive at their destination, they find the town's destroyed and deserted side. Young Xiao Hubei informs his uncle that his brother has vanished, and the group starts debating how to move forward. Duanwu, his brother, has ventured out to investigate the situation. When he finds out that there are Japanese soldiers nearby, they charge after him and locate the remaining Chinese soldiers after seeing him in return. While their group is being killed, Duanwu grabs his brother and uncle so they can hide together and make their escape by tiptoeing through the building ruins. When night falls and they arrive in the more pleasant yet still populated area of Shanghai, they discover that fellow Chinese soldiers are being shot by the NRA for deserting. They search for another group to join in order to cross safely out of fear of being called deserters as well, and eventually they find a machine gun company they can join. These soldiers are also deserters, but at least instead of being put to death, they are being transported to a warehouse in Shanghai where they are needed. The Xihang warehouse is the final fortress separating Shanghai from the Japanese forces. Commander Shi Jinyuan informs Commander Zhu Shengzong that they will need all the assistance they can get, so he assigns the new hires to work outside on the fortifications. Commander Zhu Shengzong is not happy to have deserters working with him and wants to kill them. Duanwu talks to the colonel, telling him that his family and him weren't deserters, but got left behind by their troop. However, the colonel orders them to return to duty. While they're working outside, a soldier gets worried, but it turns out to be just Chinese refugees, not Japanese soldiers. Uncle Duanwu sneaks out to follow them to safety in the Shanghai settlement, but is stopped because soldiers aren't allowed there. Meanwhile, Hubei befriends Xiao Qiwei, the only other boy his age, and they hear a woman singing across the river. Qiwei shows Hubei how different the front and back of a building look from the warehouse's roof. Some soldiers find a hidden hole in the wall with a horse inside, which Qiwei calms down before it's harmed. The next day, people in the streets get nervous when they hear unexpected explosions. They realize the Japanese have taken over another building and are waving their flags as a victory sign. The Japanese think they can easily control a warehouse, but it's a trick. The Chinese army surprises them and defeats them quickly. Duan Wu's group is still not allowed to fight because they're seen as deserters. They have to wait locked up until the fighting ends. One of them tries to escape and gets shot. Duanwu helps clear the bodies, but doesn't kill any enemies. The Japanese outside the warehouse throw gas bombs through the windows. Everyone runs for cover, covering their faces and finding towels to pee on to counteract the gas. Duanwu is too scared to pee, but another officer lends him a mask. The gas spreads, scaring the residents who try to enter buildings, but they're locked. As the soldiers work to clear the gas from the warehouse, Duanwu accidentally falls into a hidden underground canal. He decides to explore and discovers a secret entrance to the warehouse. Meanwhile, a Chinese journalist named Mr. Fang Xingwen offers to sell information about the warehouse troops to the Japanese army. Colonel Konoe Isao is pleased and plans a new attack. Back at the warehouse, the soldiers open the doors to remove the bodies, allowing a horse to escape into the streets. Civilians follow the horse, seeing it as a good sign amidst the chaos caused by the Japanese takeover. While the Japanese soldiers demand surrender from the warehouse troops, who they have captured and displayed on poles, the horse's escape provides a brief distraction from the brutality. Duanwu learns that his uncle is among the dead bodies, but he can't mourn because his group is getting ready to deal with the Japanese prisoners who are taunting them. Commander Shengzong shoots a deserter and threatens to shoot the others if they don't follow orders. The deserters don't want to go through with it because they think it's too much. The soldiers start shooting at the prisoners, but Duanwu refuses to join in, even when scared. But when he finds out the Japanese killed his uncle to save him, he gets angry and shoots. As night comes, Duanwu tries to get released with his brother, saying they're just farmers and not meant for this. Meanwhile, Qiwei enjoys a treat with Hubei. When his request is refused, Duanwu decides to escape through the canal. Two deserters join him, but they run into Japanese soldiers in the tunnel. They hide underwater, but one of them dies because they hold their breath too long. When civilians see Duanwu and his friend running, they pretend not to notice, warning everyone about the Japanese attack instead. The police at the warehouse turn on their lights as the civilians sound the alarm. This warning is extremely helpful because it causes the Chinese army to awaken and immediately raise their defenses, winning with very little casualties. Outside, the people hail Duan Wu and his companion as heroes, going so far as to encourage 3 young schoolboys to enlist in the military. Colonel Jin Yuan, however, continues to chastise them when they return inside, since he believes they were trying to accomplish something else when they entered the tunnels. They are sent out to strengthen their defenses as a form of punishment. When civilians see larger Japanese troops approaching the following day, they start to panic once more. While he doesn't gamble himself, Mr. Fang uses his cunning to accept wagers from foreigners on the outcome of the impending conflict. After a few hours, the Japanese finally get close enough to launch an attack. The warehouse troops are quickly overrun, and the brothers and schoolboys who had deserted are given weapons and told to engage in combat. Hubei is trying his hardest to hide and live because the fight is terrible, and both sides are losing men at a startling rate. But he can't resist telling Chiyue about it when he peeps out a window and sees the white horse galloping by. This makes Chiyue try to look at the horse as well, but the moment his head protrudes, the enemy shoots him. The Chinese army, though smaller, uses smart tactics to defend their city from the Japanese. When things get tough, some soldiers sacrifice themselves by strapping explosives to their bodies and charging at the enemy. They also use tricks like drilling holes in walls to launch grenades and using mirrors to track the enemy. This bravery inspires civilians to help, even disguising themselves under a Nazi flag to deliver supplies. But tragedy strikes when some are killed by a sniper, cutting off communication. Another civilian sacrifices himself to fix the phone line. Colonel Jin Yuan lies about the number of soldiers left to keep hope alive. Mr. Fang, a scared civilian, starts taking photos to document the bravery. When someone tries to steal his coat, Duan Wu stops him, almost shooting him until he begs for forgiveness. Meanwhile, Hubei mourns and drinks, feeling the weight of loss. After seeing how much soldiers give up in battle, all the regular folks decide to join a donation drive on the streets. This time, instead of just handing over supplies, they use slingshots to send them safely through warehouse windows to the soldiers, avoiding another bridge accident. Surprise! The casino owner pitches in a flag, and a brave girl swims across the river to deliver it. When Duan Wu helps her inside, a sniper tries to shoot him, but he only gets a scratch. Now, everyone thinks he's a hero. Colonel Jin Yuan tells the soldiers that the big boss wants them to keep the warehouse for 2 more days to get attention from other countries. But he says they shouldn't raise the donated flag because it might make the enemy fight harder. The soldiers argue about it, but most agree they should raise the flag anyway. The civilians cheer for the soldiers, especially the ones who are going to put the flag up on the roof the next morning. The Japanese army attacks, aiming at the flag first. Then they target civilians, aware that foreigners are present. Despite Chinese troops' determination, the flag falls. They consider giving up, but raise it again. British objections make the Japanese retreat. Duan Wu dies celebrating victory. He asks for a photo for his brother. Later, a white horse comforts Hubei. Colonel Jin Yuan tells a war story to inspire his soldiers. The British mark the settlement as safe with a Red Cross flag. Colonel Jin Yuan meets Colonel Isao, who wants one last fight to preserve honor. Jin Yuan agrees and prepares soldiers. The commissioner orders them to return, but Jin Yuan refuses, hoping for global support. The ruling class accepts defeat, angering Jin Yuan. They plan to withdraw through the bridge, leaving a few to provide cover. Mr. Fang promises to deliver letters and pictures to their families. Hubei decides to stay and defend their city as people gather to watch soldiers cross a bridge. The Japanese use searchlights and flares to make it easier to attack. Volunteers try to slow down the Japanese but are shot. Civilians help by giving medical supplies or shooting from balconies. Colonel Jin Yuan and most Chinese soldiers are killed, leaving a few who reach the settlement's gates. A white horse appears in present-day Shanghai from the ruins of a warehouse. These ruins stand as a reminder of the sacrifices made during WW2, where the Chinese army played a significant role in the fight against fascism, with 70% of Japanese casualties attributed to them. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.